It's better to sell too soon than too late. And for small market teams, it never works out to go big fish hunting. The Cleveland Cavaliers are out of the playoffs. And for some who might be a little disappointed, I'm actually taking an optimistic route. I think this is the best thing for them. I'm going to dive into that in this video. Smash that like button for me. Hit subscribe and the bell for notifications if you enjoyed the video. Let me show some Cleveland Cavalier love. The Boston Celtics were a better team. Had the Cleveland Cavaliers been fully healthy, I think they could have given them a real run for their money, especially with Porzingis out. They could have even gotten to Game 7, and who knows, with Donovan Mitchell. And I guess you can look at it to an extent and say, well, if they could get past the Boston Celtics, it's a wide open lane to the NBA Finals. Because, I mean, is anybody really scared of the Indiana Pacers or the New York Knicks? Especially the New York Knicks that are so banged up? No. But it's just to say that I doubt it was going to happen anyhow. Donovan Mitchell's knee was never fully right since he came back. Jarrett Allen has never been, I guess, the model of physical consistency. But I don't even want to act like that's a diss to him. I don't even want to get into any slights. The reality is their team is not necessarily championship built. It's not a team that you look at and you go, collectively, I could see these guys winning a championship. And the eye test is a very important test. The eye test takes in all the peripheral information that you've had over the course of a lifetime of watching basketball. And what this means is that you've seen a lot. For most of us who've watched and followed the NBA, you've seen what championship teams look like. They're usually incredibly dominant to some fashion, to some point of the game that allows you to look at them and say, this team, I can see it. And so when you look at this Cleveland Cavaliers team, I don't think any of us ever saw it. Even though they got off to a great start, I'm not going to call them front runners, but I think that they were a regular season team. Not necessarily a team that's built to win a championship. Now, I know we've all been holding out, hoping that Evan Mobley plays like he did in this final game for an entire season and show that he's broken out. But I think this is where we get to why it is important, extremely important, for you to realize it's better to sell too soon than too late. For two reasons. One, Evan Mobley is a big man. Big men historically take longer to develop, especially when they don't come in more seasoned from college, like Tim Duncan, stayed an extra year, though in today's basketball he would have came out as a rookie, as a freshman. And I've said many times before, I think that extra year of dominance in the NCAA allows them to come in with more confidence to step into the NBA dominant off the bat. But because they don't, it takes them a little bit more time. This is why it's important to sell too soon. They need to lock up Evan Mobley now with an extension. Because if they do, they can catch him before his curve, before year 4. Because next year, I think we're going to see a dominant Evan Mobley. He'll be highly motivated by being in a contract year. Even though the Cleveland Cavaliers have bird rights to him and the ability to match any offer, I don't think it's even going to get there. But if he is an all-star, what he could potentially be paid far supersedes what he would get paid this year. And so this is where Cleveland has to be methodical and meticulous and intentional. If they're going to build a contender, they need to go ahead and sell soon. I think it's time to show Evan Mobley that we're going to build around you and then you're going to be the guy. I think it's time to trade Jarrett Allen. And it's time to trade Donovan Mitchell. Now, I know some of y'all might, be on the fence about it. I think there's been a lot of discourse about it over the course of the past couple seasons. But something that has been evident, especially within this playoffs, is that Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell, at the highest level, don't really play off of each other that well. They overlap one another's strengths for the most part. They're two small, diminutive, ball-dominant guards who play from the outside in have a slightly different play style, but they are optimized by you having to choose one. Choosing one of them to be your dominant ball handler, and the other one is relegated to an off the ball player, which highly limits their effectiveness. It's time to sell. Same thing with Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley. Their talents and their strengths overlap each other too much. And when you finally optimize one, you generally find the other one relegated to a subpar position on the team. This is why it's time to sell. Because I think even though it might seem like madness to do these trades that I'm about to offer, I think it can reap the benefits of what we see most small market teams be at their most dominant, is when they actually operate as a team. As a team. And this is the first statement I made, is that when small market teams go big fish hunting, it rarely ever works out. Unless you're LeBron James choosing to come back to Cleveland, the big fish usually leaves the small market. They don't come to the small market. And when they do, it's usually because they're just trying to make the most money that they can, like a Blake Griffin, at the end of their career. You're not getting their best, which means it's still not going to work out. But most small market teams who do run a highly effective program build around a team construct, which means many pieces working together. Many highly skilled, highly talented pieces working together. Now here's the thing. When you tier players, you have your A-listers. These are your superstars. These are the guys who are in that top 10, top 12 of the league, right? Your Lukas, Donovan Mitchells, your LeBron, AD, Jokic, Embiid, right? Those guys, Kawhi. You can even keep Durant in there, right? You got Anthony Edwards. You get the point. Then you have your A minus, B plus. These are your guys who can make an all-star team. Maybe even make several, but you wouldn't necessarily see them as the guy you build around for a champion. And then you have your B-listers. And this is where small market teams master putting together rosters of B-listers. Darius Garland is a B-lister. I know he's paid, I think it's a max contract, but he's a B-lister. Jarrett Allen, really good player. He's a B-lister. The problem is the rest of the team is a bunch of C's. And this is where they're going to have to get more creative. They're going to have to find a whole lot more C pluses to B's and put it together with really good coaching, strategy, chemistry, right, cohesiveness, so that they can maximize those skills every game. Similar to how the Atlanta Hawks did back in the day when they won 60 games? Something like that. Right. Now, they didn't win a championship, but they were great and they remained flexible for years. Now, the cool thing about it, and this is where small market teams have to take a page out of the San Antonio Spurs book. A well-ran franchise is very attractive. And when you are an attractive franchise, you get buy-in from your players, which means you get players who come there who might be a B-lister, maybe even B+, who are going to actually buy into the system and the program. And this is essential. You can't have a team like the Charlotte Hornets, right, who aren't winning, and then you bring in a guy who's really, potentially really good, and then they're just like, why even try here? I know what it is, right? You look at somebody like P.J. Washington, right, how he looked in Charlotte versus how he now looks in Dallas. Buy-in is essential. When they believe in what you're cooking, right, they don't mind doing the things you're asking them to do and putting in the extra effort. If they don't believe, you're not going to get it. Now, I love J.B. Bickerstaff as a coach. And when I say love, I'm saying he is an above-average coach. He knows how to maximize strategically with X's and O's, systems, culture, foundational principles. He knows how to maximize getting the most out of his players. And I think that is essential. He has a defensive pedigree and focus, and his teams play smart basketball. So I think you have the right coach in place. He's the type of coach you want to keep for the next 10 to 15 years. And I know some of you might be like, nah, he's underperformed, da-da-da. Look, you have to understand, Stability is big when it comes to getting buy-in. Stability is big when it comes to building a consistent program. And when you have a good coach, you don't just easily let go of them. Otherwise, you end up like teams like Charlotte, who then end up having to search for that coach and fire and search and fire and search and fire, and you're nonstop unstable the entire time. Now, this is the last part of it. Where you do your big fish hunting is in the draft. And it's not to say that you're trying to lose and tank to get to the top of the draft. What you're actually trying to do is to go for the player with the most potential upside. You're trying to find that gem, that diamond in the rough when you have a bunch of B plus, B minus players. Get about 4, 5, 6 of them. And then you